for finding time to come to this important workshop or conference despite of your busy schedules. This not only shows that you value our invitation, but it shows your commitment to science, technology in Africa. So the entire NM-AIST community is delighted to having you with us today, and thank you so much for coming. The NM-AIST community is also very grateful and feels privileged for hosting you, Professor Mark Dufmeyer, a renowned honorary professor of comparative agriculture and agricultural development from Agro-Paris Tech in France, and one of the most recognized specialists in the field of agroecology. You are most welcome. I'm also informed that apart from you allocated about 200 acres of land at this $60 million to construct this startup campus. Furthermore, it allocated about 3,000 acres of land, some 20 kilometers from here, in an area called Kalangai for further expansion of institution. In view of orienting ourselves as an institution in science, engineering, technology, and innovation, the NM-AIST is committed to fulfill its vision dedicated to the pursuit of and the promotion of science, engineering, technology, and innovation, and their applications in fostering the economic. 150 research projects, both, of course, phased out and ongoing, and more than 20 products, some of which are at various stages of being commercialized. Ladies and gentlemen, it goes without saying that the university is committed to being a research-intensive institution to catalyze the development of science, engineering, technology, and innovation, while harnessing the abundant resources of nature that are available in the sub-Saharan Africa, and contributing to economic and social transformation of the continent. This harnessing of natural resources.
Thank you very much, the Vice Chancellor, for a very welcoming speech and nice words to make us feel at home. So the next one will be the country director, Ile-de-Paix Ludovic, who is actually the co-organizer of this event, and will give us a brief on who is participating and something else.
Yeah. Good morning. Okay, so just as an introduction, I will share with you the participants of this conference this morning. So we have the Ambassador of Belgium, Mr. Peter Van Acker. We have two representatives of the French Embassy, Cécile Frober and Juliette Gallou. We have the Vice-Chancellor of Nelson Mandela University. We have representative of Karatu District Councils. We have a representative of Lita Tengeru, so staff and students. We have also a representative of Oti Tengeru, student and staff. We have students from Sokone University of Agriculture. And we have also some representative of different organizations, Ile-de-Paix, Mviwata Arusha, Luikoda, and ECO, East Africa Impact Center. We have also a representative of the Arusha Conservation Agriculture Network Forum, sorry, ACAF. So let me start with my short talk. So dear Ambassador of Belgium, dear representative of the French Embassy, dear Deputy Vice Chancellor, dear Marc Dufumier, dear participant. So the mission of Marc Dufumier has been initiated by ILDEP and supported by the French Embassy and the Belgian Embassy. And for this conference with the support of the University of Nelson Mandela. The objective of this conference is really to sensitize participants on agroecology and its role towards sustainable food systems. In the current global context, agroecology is the pathway to guarantee the right to food to all, without compromising the economic, social, and environmental foundation. ILDEP promotes agroecology in the Arusha region since 2015 and supports small-scale farmers from sustainable production to marketing and consumption. So it is our hope that there will be a dynamic around agroecology and that more and more stakeholders will promote agroecology in Arusha region, but also in Tanzania. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, the director, ILDEP, Tanzania. The next speech or talk or remarks will be from the representative of the French Embassy. Just quick remarks. Welcome, please.
So, mabibi mama bwana. His Excellency Charles Venance Lugamela, Deputy Vice Chancellor. His Excellency Ambassador of Belgium, Peter van den Broek. Dear Marc Dufumier. Dear Ludovic, Director of ILDEP. Thanks for organizing this event with the Nelson Mandela Institute team. I would like just to have some words to explain to you why the French Embassy and why the French government support agroecology here in Tanzania, but also around the world. So first, France support agroecology because agroecology has a long-term vision compared to intensive agriculture, who has a short-term vision. So this kind of conferences for us is very important because it's a way to raise awareness toward the students and toward the professors on that very important challenge here in Tanzania, but also around the world, because the French government face the same challenges in France. So, as you know, most of the food production is based on farming system that required a lot of input, pesticides, and the use of a lot of natural resources. So this model is not at all sustainable. This model is harmful for the environment. This model increases the degradation of the soil, of the forest, of the water, and also the biodiversity. So the intensive agriculture is the model of the past, and it denies the environmental impacts and favor a short-term yield before respecting and preserving the natural resources. So this model of intensive production with a lot of pesticide is not at all a way to eradicate hunger. This was the premise that some big project leading here in Tanzania, but also in Africa. But that's not true. That's not true, and we can see that in France, and we can see that in many countries. That's why for us, for the French government, it's very important to support agroecology, because agroecology, once again, has a long-term vision and promote climate change adaptation and mitigation. Agroecology can also help to protect natural resources. And here in Tanzania and around Arusha, you have amazing natural resources. You have amazing park. And I know that there is another issue now with the pesticides, because it's also damaged the natural resources into the park. And for instance, I know that there is a new technique from the poultry. They use pesticides to kill the animals into the park. So you see, it's a global, it's a global challenge, and it's, agroecology, it's also a way to sustain the economy, the local economy, and innovation. You talk about innovation, but agroecology is innovation. It's not the model of the past. It's not the model of, it's not old-fashioned. It's not at all that. And I know that among of you, some students are now leading projects in creating biopesticides. I know that among you students, some of you have some ideas to create startup in the field of agroecology. So for the French embassy, it's very important to support you students and the professor, of course, to continue to be innovative and to continue to have this project and to change the world, because you can also change the world here in Tanzania with this innovation. So as I told you, France support agroecology because agroecology could also stimulate local economy and local markets. And actually here in Tanzania, the French embassy support a project leading in Mtwara region, Lindi, Morogoro and Bagamoyo. And this project is led by an NGO called SAT and SwissAid. And it's very interesting because you can see that there is a demand. If you raise awareness to the client, to the consumers, and if you explain to them that it's better to eat an organic tomato because organic tomato is better for the health. The tomato also have a lot of micronutrients, and it's good for their baby, it's good for their wife. So now also at the local in the local market, you can see that there is a demand, and the consumers understand why it is important to have healthy products. So I think that once again, you are the future of this country. So your students, it's very important to have this innovative in mind, innovation. You have to be innovative. And I know that you are innovative. So we are here to support you. And we'll here to have also your point of view. And I think it's very important, once again, to raise awareness and to discuss with the students here in Nelson Mandela Institute. So just to give you two figures that shows that there is a high demand for organic products at the international level. So for instance, turmeric, I know that there is a lot of turmeric here in Tanzania, product in Morogoro, but also in Arusha, and turmeric demand increased every year by 12% in the world. So you can see the opportunity to export the production here in Tanzania. So you have a local demand, you have a national demand to satisfy, but you have also the international market you have to see. And just another example, and after I stop. So the vanilla prices have been multiplied by 8 the last 4 years, by 8. So it's like a gold, you know? So I mean, if you have some project, and I know that there are some projects, for instance, in Morogoro, some farmers develop their production of vanilla. I mean, it's also innovative because to produce vanilla, you need to have the knowledge how to produce it in an organic way, so using agroecology. So I would like just to congratulate once again Nelson Mandela Institute to organizing this conference with ILDEP. And our partnership with the Belgium Embassy is for us very important to be with you. And once again, I would like to congratulate the NGOs that they are working on that field. And ILDEP, they are doing an amazing work here in Karatu. So thank you so much for inviting us today. And I'm sure that the French Embassy could support the project leading by you, students, in the coming years and coming months. And I would just like to end my speech by Kilimo Hai. You know what is it, Kilimo Hai? So can you repeat, please, all of you? Kilimo Hai. Okay, asante sana. Sorry.
Asante sana for the asante sana. Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much for letting us know that Kilimo should be high. Kilimo high. That's what we are supposed to say, right? Can we say it again? Thank you very much. So the next speaker to give remarks will be our Honorable Ambassador, and I would like to welcome him to give remarks pertaining to this conference. Please welcome.
Habari za asubuhi. Dear Vice Chancellor, all protocols observed. Mabana na mabibi, nimefurahi kuwa hapa. Why? Maarifa ni muhimu. We have here, he is full of knowledge. This is the man today we should ask a lot of questions. We should challenge him, which is very important because it is out of challenge that good things come forward. So let's not forget that. Challenge this professor. This is your chance. We brought him here. ILDEP brought him here. He has knowledge about agroecology. So let's not miss this opportunity. Now you are here, you are students, you should actively participate in the debate. It's very important. Students should debate. Now, I'm also very happy because Nelson Mandela Institute is working together with Belgian universities already for several years now, and they are collaborating also in the field of agriculture. We have in Belgium world-renowned, I say, banana specialist, Ronnie Swennen, who comes here often, I understand, and who is working together with the Department of Agriculture. I am happy to see now that the knowledge that he brings in is translated again into agriculture, that it is translated into the field, that they have now kind of banana varieties which are better yielding than the traditional ones. So I'm happy to see that it is happening. Now, on agroecology, I must say I'm an economist. I was always looking at how can we maximize profit, but is that sustainable? That is a question that you have to ask. And part of the answer lies in agroecology, because it is sustainable agriculture. It is what they call in Swahili, kilimu endelevu. Kilimu endelevu. So that is very important. Now I went into the field, and to me, it looked like agroecology, it's a kind of holistic way of farming. A more holistic way that you combine different things. You combine also ancient knowledge which is there, but you fine-tune it in a way. You see to it then when you plant bananas that you do that in a different way, that you do a little bit more spacing between the different plants. But it's not only about one crop, it's also about keeping bees at the same time. It's about having a fence made out of passion fruit. It is about planting a mboga, which is also very important. I have seen a farmer which has been very successful. Now comes the challenge, and that is a challenge for students. How are we going to see that this is multiplied? And therefore, it needs knowledge. And you have that knowledge, and you will have that knowledge. And maybe you will go into the field one day and you will help other farmers to spread that knowledge so that they can be also do the farming in a more holistic way. So that is your challenge. So you have to keep that up. I think Celine has mentioned already, students here are working around biopesticides. Of course, that is the way forward. You have to do that. That's in you. You are the future of this country. You should never forget that. You will make this country great. It's in your hands. I hope that today will be a good conference, that we challenge the professor, and that we have a nice debate. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador. Thank you very much for such encouraging words and assuring us that we have somebody who is like a house of knowledge, the professor, who we should actually challenge. Now that's a challenge to us, to challenge the professor. Monsieur Dufourmier, get ready. You are going to be challenged. So the next, as I said before, will be the presentations from Nelson Mandela, which would actually highlight the researches that we are doing here that are actually related to agroecology. Agroecology is almost everything. We have the 10 principles that cut across life. Even Honorable Ambassador, economics is part of the agroecology, so you are part of the agroecology. The professor will tell us more during his presentation. So I'd like to welcome the presenters from Nelson Mandela to tell us about their research in agroecology. There will be two presenters actually. One of them will be me, but I'm not going to start. The other one will start, and then after that, I think we will have time to swallow something before we come for the professor who is to be challenged. So welcome the presenter from NM-AIST. Sorry, I forgot to mention, so as we present, I request the high table to go down and take the seats. And that side, where's the organizers, please? Let's wait for the for honorable guest to take a seat before we start the presentation, please.
Okay. Honorable Ambassador of Belgium, representatives of the French Embassy, the acting Vice Chancellor of the Nelson Mandela African Institution of Science and Technology, dear participants of the conference, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. So my name is Angela Gerard Mkindi, and I'm presenting on behalf of the Dean of the School of Life Sciences and Bioengineering. And with me are my colleagues from the school. So I'll be offering the beginning of the presentation and then invite them one by one to give their overview. So the school in general has a number of master and PhD programs as highlighted. I think I will not talk much about them, but just to appreciate the fact that among these are some disciplines that touch very much agroecology issues. And these are such as biodiversity and ecosystems management, sustainable agriculture, food sciences, and the rest. So to start with, I would love us to reflect a bit on Agroecology Hub. This is for the FAO. That explains the importance of agroecology as a hub for knowledge sharing and knowledge creating, and the fact that it embraces a number of actors, countries, regions, society, farmers, and the like. And also the fact that agroecology has some 10 elements which are very important and which are, some of which are so much practiced at our institution, as we will be seeing in the coming slides. But important ones are such as circular and solidarity economy, of which we have some businesses going on around agroecology. We have efficiency, we have co-creation and sharing of knowledge, diversity, culture and food tradition, and the like. So all this embraces the fact that agroecology is important and it touches almost everything and everyone, from farmers to researchers to industries and the like. So some few insights on what we are doing at the institution is about learning and practicing. So when we do research works at the university in the labs, we also focus in the fields to see context-based questions that are worth addressing, and learning together and practicing issues together. So example here is the process of producing and processing plant-based pesticides with farmers. And so science brings instrumental information that informs the field and how practical things have to be done. And also not only practicing, but experimenting, evaluating together, and giving and sharing feedbacks between different actors. Here we see some farmers and research assistants collecting information from the bean fields as a result of spraying bean pests in the field. But down in the picture is an interesting conference going on. This is a virtual conference that we were attending. So we have extension officers here, we have researchers, myself and some others, but we have farmers whom we translate the language, and people go in the meeting, they share ideas, they get feedbacks, and we plan the future so that we have questions that are very important to answer and which brings us very instrumental results. Therefore, this is just among many, of which I invite Warda to say a bit about her work and how that contributes to what we're doing.
Thank you. Okay, my name is Kanaga Warda. A master graduate majoring biodiversity conservation and ecosystem management in the School of Life Sciences here at Nelson Mandela. My research was on the effectiveness of biological control and socioeconomic impact of the invasive Parthenium hysterophorus in Arusha, Tanzania. And one of my research questions was this one: can crude extract of Dovialis scapula and Cassia auricrata outcompete synthetic 2,4-D in suppressing Parthenium hysterophorus? My study was supervised by Professor Anna, and it was an experimental study at the Tropical Pesticide Research Institute. To start with the introduction, Parthenium hysterophorus is an invasive weed which significantly affects crop production, it affects biodiversity, human and animal health. So different methods have been applied to control this invasive, but most of them, they cause adverse effects. For example, the chemical 2,4-D, most they cause pollution and affecting untargeted organisms. So that's why we came to conduct an experiment using the Dovialis scapula and Acacia auricrata. So to answer the questions, we collected the materials from the field. We collected the Acacia auricrata leaves and barks, Dovialis scapula leaves and fruits, Dovialis scapula. This is the picture of Dovialis scapula, we popularly known as mchongoma in Kiswahili. We left them to air dry for 21 days in the lab. After that, yes, we left them to air dry for 21 days in the lab. 100 grams of each crushed materials were measured and put in 1 liter distilled water, then filtered. We obtained 0.1 stock solution, where we obtained different concentration of 30, 60, and 90 concentration of extract. The various scapula fruits were treated differently, where we measured 500 grams, 100 grams, 1,500 grams. Then we allowed them to ferment for 4 days. We obtained the concentration of 0.5, 1, and 1.5. 2,4-D were diluted based on those recommendations. Then we applied folio spray for day 7 of one experiment, 10 and 13 days. We monitored our experiment for 28 days in the screen house at TPRI. Then after 28 days, we measured shoot length, root length, fresh biomass, dry biomass, and then we went to the lab to test for our chlorophyll content. For data, we first tested for normality and homogeneity of variance using Levin's test and Shapiro and Wilk test. Our data were normally distributed, then we performed the ANOVA, and then the means were separated by using TAC HSD. Our results revealed that all concentration Parthenium hydrophorus parameters were suppressed already at low concentrations, but further when concentration increased. This might be associated with the inhibitory potential. The higher the concentrations, the higher the inhibitor potential, or might be associated with the reduction in cell elongation and cell division. We performed the further analysis where we performed the ANOVA and we found no significant difference. Yeah. In conclusion and recommendation, we conclude that we recommended 2,4-D, but here, the chemical 2,4-D performed exactly with as highest concentrations of the various scapula. Like here, you can find there's no significant difference here. So we conclude that we recommended the use of bioherbicide to Acacia auricrata and Dovialis scapula, but this method should be integrated with current control measures for an effective integrated approach. Thank you.
Welcome, Siri. Good morning. I'm Siri Abihuda, and I'm going to take you through my work, my PhD work, on ethnobotanical knowledge and germination experiment on threatened and available species in Tanzania. So we have 52 aloe species, and among those we don't have aloe vera in Tanzania as a native, and among those 5 are critically endangered. I surveyed 5 regions with high diversity of aloe species, including Mara, Kilimanjaro, Tanga, Katavi, and Rukwa. And out of 23 species we found in those regions, only 20 were very useful. And as you can see from the chart, Aloe lateritiria, Dukerii, and secundiflora, which are among the available species, were the most utilized. And both leaves and stem were used for
medicinal purposes with leaves, malaria, Newcastle disease for chicken, stomachache, typhoid, and ringworms were leading in treating, in using aloe vera as treatment. And for stem, they were mostly used for making beer and stomachache and female infertility issues. And among the factors that were responsible on the decline of aloe species were agriculture. As people were burning the land for agriculture, they were also burning the aloe, but also wrong harvesting method of aloe, as you can see for aloe secundiflora, but also the wildlife were affecting these aloe, including elephants and other wild animals were eating on the aloe. On the germination experiment, we found out that all the aloe species we germinated responded specific to their IUCN red list, and optimum temperature for germinating these aloe was 30 degrees, and also darkness stimulated germination of these aloe. And these aloe were doing well when unscarified, but also the coastal aloe, which is aloe pembana and aloe boscaweni, you can improve their germination by recovering them from salt. Oh, thank you.
Welcome, Philippine.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Philippine Ashayo. I'm a PhD student at Nelson Mandela under Biodiversity and Ecosystems Management, and I'm here to present you on something a bit different from the former presenters. It's on underutilized crop. It's called Telfaria pedata or kweme. How many of you in here who have heard or used kweme? It's in Swahili. Please raise up your hands. Asante sana. Well, it's the importance of oyster nut, that's an English name for that. It opens like the oyster fish. And it's native in Tanzania, especially in the regions of Kilimanjaro, Arusha, and Tanga. And I've been to those places. I've visited 346 farmers who have been planting this plant, and it's a vine. It's a climber that climbs on top of trees, big native trees, I tell you guys, because the fruit itself, this is the fruit. It goes up to 25 kilos, and and those are the nuts that I'm talking about. When they open up like the oyster fish. And this is the fruit that can carry hardly up to 180 these seeds. And this is the climber that I'm talking about. It's usually with agroecology. I like the way the Belgian ambassador talked about putting them on the fences. They're also being grown on fences, not only on trees. And what else? Well, the use of it, or the importance of it, is that it, besides being eaten raw or roasted or used on confectionaries like cakes and biscuits, it's also being used for medicinal purposes. And used mainly by mothers, especially for lactating mothers, who, because of the lactogenic properties that it has. And the good thing is, besides that, when you grow it, mind with biodiversity use or enhancing biodiversity, definitely you have to conserve the tree. And once you conserve the tree, then everything that comes beyond or beneath the tree, that's superb. And that's what we want for conservation. And something else to add on, it's besides being used on step of meals for cooking, it's used like groundnuts, karanga jamani. you have to pound it, you peel it that hard. It has a hard shell, so the nut is inside. When you peel, get the nut from the seed, you pound it and use it as karanga. So in meals like makande, ndizi, banana, that's plantain, and even on maharage, instead of, it's like you make it as peanut butter as a sauce. And not only that, now for women, because it's mainly planted by women, according to the study that I conducted, it's a source of income generation activity. So if Professor Mark, if we get along in agroecology and Kweme, that's where things will be well, and we can work together, Professor, on this. So once you conserve this, once you maintain it, and mind you, it's neglected and underutilized, because it's, let me get you back. Yeah, mixing up things. Let me get you back. Telfaria pedata, it's under the same family with Telfaria occidentalis. And Telfaria occidentalis is found in West Africa. So if you Google Telfaria occidentalis, it has numerous researches that has been done. But for us now, since I'm doing the baseline information on Telfaria pedata, very few literature is on it. So that's why we say the researchers have neglected it, and us ourselves as users and consumers have also underutilized it. So when we come on the table, round table discussion with Professor Mark, then that's how we get to promote Telfaria pedata for the income generation activity, nutrition as well, because it has the nutrition part and medicinal part of it, and also in order to enhance biodiversity conservation. And not only that, after that, all that pack, in one pack, definitely we can export even to Belgium and France. Yes. With those few points, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, colleagues. Actually, we have posters downstairs, and these people have presented, plus many others have their posters downstairs, so we can have some more time to interact with them. In addition to we who have presented, we also have some other colleagues who have passed, the alumni, but others are also still students. We have Neva, who has a biopesticide ready in the market, and this is for pest control in a number of crops. And this is Neva herself. This is Neva with her product. And also in connection to that, in the school there is a data-driven incubation facility where a number of products, ideas, prototypes are being incubated. And probably you get to see and learn a lot about it downstairs, where there are products from the funded by the DDI, but also some other people who can tell you much more about it. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Angela. I first mentioned of two presenters. I didn't know the first presenter had sub-presenters who are actually trying to feed into the entire issue of agroecology. I like that very much. And the last one with, we had three things. First was about Parthenium, which is dangerous. And then aloe vera, which is actually good. And the oyster nut, Kweme. I remember I ate this when I was maybe 3 or 5 years old. Filipina, thank you very much. You almost defended your PhD, so don't worry about it anymore. Thank you, Angela, for mentioning about the posters. I didn't mention it, but a lot are displayed in the poster exhibition downstairs, the first floor, and we will we'll get time to go through them. So I'm going to talk about related research in the other school, not schools, one school, that is also, that also fits into agriculture. And at this juncture, I might have to properly introduce myself, because I didn't in the first place. because of the role, the multiple roles that I'm playing today. But I'm working as a senior lecturer in the School of Materials, Energy, Water, and Environmental Science. Don't worry about the name. It's a combination of, it's like agroecology. It mixes everything. So it's also part of it. And the dean is the second name. Mine is the first one, Kelvin. I hope you remember it. But I'm also the working with another school. I'm the dean of the School of Business Studies and Humanities. I'm working with the Department of Sustainable Agriculture in the School of Life Science and Bioengineering. So I'm kind of cutting across the entire institution. So I'm the proper agroecology. So I'm going to talk about the researches that I'm involved in this particular school, not necessarily in this particular, well, when it comes to research, it's very difficult to place it in a particular school because most of our research activities, as the Vice Chancellor mentioned, they tend to cut across. So you can't say this is actually done in that particular school and not in the other. So this is how we do our research in Nelson Mandela. Most, if not all of them, are multidisciplinary, cross-cutting, interdisciplinary, whichever name you give them. So that is typical agroecology. So what these guys presented in the first presentation that came from the School of Life Science and Bioengineering, I kind of put it in the, it's more of diversity, which is one of the key principles of agroecology. I don't want to preempt what the professor would talk about, but as from that school that has the name of environmental science, I'm involved in this project. Don't worry about the funder, those names are always the same. But it's linking East and West Africa farming system experience into a belt of sustainable intensification. Intensification feeds into agroecology as well. And the main activities are to work on traditional and innovative agricultural practices, which feeds into agroecology as well. Sustainable intensification indicators, that are also feeding into agroecology, but actually the project is just starting. But one important thing to mention is that our projects are initiated or coordinated by the instructors, lecturers, professors, and the like, but the researchers are actually our students. So you find most of our students are working in the researchers that have been developed, established by the instructors. So in this project, I'll have one PhD student and several master students. This is the famous banana project that we have with, which is kindly funded by the Belgian government. That has been here for, as the ambassador said, for about 7 years now. And it has several components, but the key component is the banana component that is championed by Professor Ron Svenen. I was just chatting with him. That is mentioned by the ambassador all the time, so he has to go quickly into YouTube and see what the ambassador is talking about him. So the issue was to sustainably manage banana-based farming systems in the northern Tanzania. We started by Upper Pangani, but actually the second phase is now focusing in northern Tanzania, just to cater the entire area where banana is grown most. We have other areas actually growing banana in Tanzania, but in this part is even, I would say, is the leading part of the country that's growing banana. And we had two approaches. One was to work on the nutrients requirement of that particular crop. So this guy who is about to finish his PhD, he will defend his PhD in Leuven this December, Akida Meyer. He worked on the nutritional requirement of the crop. So he worked on the combining the traditional fertilizers, the farmyard manure, combining with the industrial fertilizers, and came up with a package that would actually produce the most from the crop. And in phase 2, which is happening now, we have another PhD student, two of them actually, one working on the water requirement of the crop. You know, when it comes to agriculture, there are 2 or 3 key issues. We are talking of the nutrients, and we are talking of water. So the other guy is picking up what this guy did on the nutrient part, and then see into water use efficiency. He just started. He has a number of fields across the area, both in Kilimanjaro and Arusha, and he has just started, so he's working on it. So that is one of the projects that we're also working in. We have this one that is pegged into the highly eroded areas in the Maasai. I would call it Maasai, but close to Arusha. It has been funded by several agents, so NEC DFID might not be the right fund at the moment. It has gone through about 4 steps. Number 1, we addressed the issue of social, psycho-cultural aspects of soil erosion. That is it perceived as a problem culturally, socially, psychologically? So we went down to the village, talked to the culprits, to the guys where all these gullies are. This is close to Arusha, Kisongo. You might have heard of Kisongo, and all the way to Monduli, Mosa, all those kind of villages. We have these terrible features on the surface. It's like a cancer. We used to call it a land cancer. So we talked to the guys. They had to tell us whether it's a problem or not, and if it's a problem, what do we do? And if it's not, what shouldn't we do? So after that, we came in with our natural science approaches, the issues of controlling erosion, but it was based on the decision that was made or was seen as a solution by these guys. So this project has come to phase 4 now. We just started 1 month ago, and this time around we want to get feedback from the community, because in the second and third phase we established some sort of demo plots based on what they seen as solutions to the erosion problem. So we want now these guys to tell us, what do they feel? Is it like the problem will be solved by these solutions or not? So we have some research assistants on the ground, and 1 PhD and 2 master students, I think. They're up there collecting information or responses from the community. Another one is what Angela actually mentioned, and she appears there. Angela is kind of a character as well, because she started from the School of Materials, Energy, and all those names, environmental science, and she ended up in life sciences. So this is how agroecology works. You start from the environment, you end up in life. Everything is about protecting our life, right? Ours plus the plants and the soil and the microbes and everything else. So Angela started this at her master's level. Was it, Angela? Yeah, master's. And then she continued with the same research to her PhD, which she graduated some few years ago. Years or months ago. So she worked on what she has been explaining. We were trying to work on these, call them pesticidal plants, botanicals, put it a bit simpler. We started with the beans, common beans, and went to cowpeas, both from the field pest to the storage pests and diseases. So this is one of the projects actually which has tried a lot to address the issues of agroecology, and is still ongoing. Right now we have about 2 PhD guys and several master students working on the same. What we did in the beginning, what Angela and her colleagues saw as potential pesticidal plants or potential botanicals were picked up by the next group, to the extent that we have come into Tephrosia right now, and some 2 more which do not actually appear here, that we could come up with a product. And I'm sure we have a product of some of this, yeah, with Tephrosia. So we decided to come up, to go all the way, not only writing the dissertation and leave it in the library, but actually come up with products which will feed into the community where the problem is. This is our approach at Nelson Mandela, and this is what we actually emphasize in whoever come to do his or her master's or PhD. And you will get a lot of these I would say approaches or techniques or skills from the school that I mentioned it as bush We call it bush because it's business studies and humanities, because scientists don't like art-related issues. We say every scientist at Nelson Mandela, whether you're a rocket engineer, you're a life scientist engineer, you have to go through the bush, unfortunately. And you have to come through it. If not, you'll get lost there. So that's where you get all these skills on how to start from the ideation, all the way to the lab, all the way to the product, all the way to the market to sell your product and get money. That's where Angela is almost now. The last one, this project has ended. We were working on the issues of fluoride contamination. I'm sure you are aware of this, that we have this problem of fluoride contamination in this area, in the slopes of Mount Meru, because of the nature of the rocks. So we worked on the, a lot have been said about fluoride contamination in water, but our entry was into the soils, which will definitely end up into the food chain. So nothing had been done so far as soil is concerned, and how that fluoride gets into the maize that we plant in the soil, into the cabbages, into the tomatoes, into the animal feeds actually. Talk of the pastures. So we might be worried of fluoride in water, but we're actually eating it in ugali, or beans, or even milk, or even eggs. So our end point was, okay, fine, let's forget about water now. Let's talk about other food materials. So that project is actually, it ended last year, but it's the first one I talked about, the Ewa Belt, is a continuation of this. Now we're going to see on how to lock the fluoride into the soil or turn it harmless to the plant, or lock it not to get into the food chain, based on what we found in the first phase, that we found quite a lot of fluoride in root crops. It was mostly in the root crops, talking of carrots and the like. But that has to be published and be approved before we get into conclusion. This is the project that ended last year that we're working on. It has the name Agroecology Project, Professor Monsieur de Fumier. It has the name Agroecology. Our entry point here is that we are talking on the first principle, diversity. There are some areas where they believe that food is only this and this and that, and not that and that and that. Because either they are not exposed to, or two, they don't believe that can be food. So in this particular area, we realized that most of the nutrition problems were based on, or were linked to vitamins, of which most naturally could be obtained from vegetables, leafy vegetables, or even the other vegetables. So our end point was to introduce the legumes and vegetables in this area, and right now we are working on the home gardens and the like. This is one of the other projects that we are working on utilization of manure, and how you get manure from your animals all the way to the field, apply it as a fertilizer, get the banana, eat the banana, get it back through the biogas and the like. That's the end. That's how agroecology ends. It's just like cut. Okay, so thank you very much. I was the last presenter from NM-AIST, and I can see time is not on our side, but after this, we will go for tea or coffee break for about 20 or 25 minutes. Less? Okay, less. How many? How many minutes? 20 minutes. Okay, for about 20 minutes, the tea is served just out there, so that's even easier. When we come back, we'll hear from our key speaker, and then after that, we'll go into discussion and question and answers. So ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome you for tea break, coffee, for about 20 minutes. It's served out there. You want to say something? Let's hear something from the... Fine, so we'll start with the guys seated in the front seats, and then we proceed, because we don't want to line up all the way to the downstairs out there.